yesterday. And in case you have you have any query, please feel free to ask. So, friend, yesterday we learnt about each other. Uh, Met such a wonderful set of people. Then we talked about some of the basic concepts. So we talked about the concept of variation. Variation is desired or not desired, and we concluded that variation is not desired in the repeated standard operating procedures or the processes, so that those processes are predictable, right? So that we can confirm to our customer that yes, we'll be able to deliver this project in this much time, because we our processes are dependable, right? The variation in those processes are minimum. And if there are some, then we talked about how do we measure the variation. So one of the very simple matrices for measuring the variation is range. Range, in generic terms, in general life, we understand range is the minimum value to the maximum value. So for example, we discussed one example yesterday where the Priya shared that yes, the temperature there in UAE, that part of UAE is ranging between 38 to 40 degrees Celsius in the last 30 days, right? So we say minimum value to the maximum value. However, when we calculate range mathematically, it is defined as the maximum value minus minimum value. So in that case, it will be 40 minus 38, or 2 degrees C, right? Then we spoke about what is different kind of variation. So we took this example to understand that if I am taking the time from my house to the Viceland office, right? How much time it takes? So we took some data, right? Hypothetical data we took, and we tried to understand, right, the two kind of variation. One is the common cause variation, which we see here, which is between 28 minutes to 32 minutes, and this special cause variation, which is 1 point, which is 140 minutes. That is special cause variation. So what is special cause variation? If the variation is significantly higher or significantly lower than the usual variation, then we call it the special cause variation. You may say how much higher or how much lower. So there are tools, there are graphical tools also which we will be learning. There are statistical tools also which we will be learning, which helps us to identify if we have any special cause variation. In the special cause variation, we call those points as outlier. Right? So in this case, 140, the point number 7 is an outlier. So how to handle these kind of situations? So we should do the root cause analysis, that why the variation has significantly increased. Then we identify the root cause, and accordingly we take the corrective action and the preventive action. Then we spoke about the concept of quality. So we learnt about the most acceptable definition of quality is meeting the customer requirements. Right? So meeting the customer requirements means we here the quality depends on the customer, right? So the quality of the same product or service may be good for a customer, or may not be good for the other customer. Then we learnt about customer, so payer, user, stakeholder, decision maker, legal requirements, right? Government regulation, all these are customers to an organization. And then we talked about the voice of customer, so which can be concluded in terms of the specification limits, lower limit and the higher limit, defect, defective, and opportunities, right? So opportunities are the terms or the parameters which are important from the customer point of view. From, for example, if in a washing machine, three things are important from the customer point of view: appearance, overall functioning, and safety functions. Then it means there are three opportunities for that customer, and the defect may occur in any of these. And you can connect the dots. These opportunities are DPMO, defect per million opportunity. So this is the same word which we discussed yesterday. Then we learnt about the type of data. So most common two types of data we discussed about, which will be used multiple times, maybe in every session we'll be using it, which is called continuous data, which is also known as the variable data, and discrete data, which is also known as attribute data. So continuous data is the data which can be measured up to any extent if we keep improving our measurement system, like temperature, pressure, weight, height, length, right? So all these things, viscosity, all these, the chemical strength, all these things are the continuous data. Usually when we measure the continuous data, right, we use some kind of measuring instrument. Then we discussed about the discrete data. So discrete data or attribute data, there are two categories, I would say two bifurcations. One is the count data. So when we are counting something, we are not measuring something, but we are counting something. Number of people present, number of product we have sold, number of product which are defective, number of defect we have received, number of customer complaints, number of projects to be delivered this month, number of opportunities, right? Number of projects which we have delivered on time. So we are counting something, number of matches we have lost, number of matches we have won. Right? So all these are the cases where we are counting something. So when we are counting something, it is a discrete data or the attribute data. And second is the categorical data. Categorical data means where we have some categories. Those categories can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? So for example, yes, no, okay, not okay, pass, fail, absent, present, maybe three categories, red, amber, green, maybe four categories, A, B, C, D, and so on. Right? Then we discussed about this example of customer satisfaction form where we can see five categories. So this data is the discrete data or the attribute data. And then at the last we discussed about in the concept, we discussed about business. Most important thing for business is profit. So what is profit? Profit is revenue minus cost. And what is revenue? Revenue means our receipt, right? How much amount we have and how much amount we have received. And the cost is basically what are the expenses we have done. And profit is revenue minus cost. So to improve the profitability of the organization, we can work on the revenue side also. We can increase the revenue, then the profit will increase, or maintaining the same cost or similar cost, or we can reduce the cost maintaining the similar kind of revenue. So definitely the profit will increase. So depending on our role, we can work on the revenue side also, we can work on the cost optimization side also. And then we talked about the we move to the slides which which are there on the LMS, where we discussed about the what is Six Sigma. So we talked about Six Sigma as a strategy. We talked about Six Sigma as a metric. So when we are talking about Six Sigma as a metric, we discussed that it is Six Sigma performance level means 3.4 DPMO, which means 3.4 defects per million opportunities, which means if we are doing a process where we have 1 million opportunities, it means there will be only 3 or 4 defects maximum. So that is the level of performance means Six Sigma level or Six Sigma performance. From the methodology point of view in Six Sigma, two methodologies have been defined. One is for the existing process and one is when we are designing something new. So that can be a process or that can be a product. So when we are talking about the existing process, we use a methodology which is called DMAIC. It is an abbreviation. In full form of the same is define, measure, analyze, improve and control. We will be learning about the same in details, very much detail, because in this program we'll go into each of these phases and we will exactly learn how this what are the things which we do in these phases and how we do it. And then DMADV, which is for the designing a new product or a new service or a new process. So which is DMADV, define, measure, analyze the same, and D is for design and V is for verify. Then we discussed about the evolution of continuous improvement in Six Sigma, and we talked about Bill Smith 1986, 1987 and Jack Welch. So Jack Welch is basically Bill Smith is the person who said the father of Six Sigma. He was working with Motorola and he developed with his friend or colleague Michael Harry. He developed this methodology and uh, in Motorola, and Jack Welch was the person who actually made this methodology popular. He was the former CEO of General Electric GE, and he was able to show a benefit of $12 billion in the 5 years duration. So and which actually made everybody think, all the companies think, that what Jack Welch have done, right? What GE has done, so that they are getting so much profit. Their balance sheets are going in the right direction. Their rejections are going down. Their attrition rate is going down, right? Their expenses are going down. They are improving at all fronts, and not only in one business unit, but multiple business units. And as a result, within next couple of years, so by 2005, close to 53% of the Fortune 500 companies and 82% of the Fortune 100 companies have started using Six Sigma in one way or the others. So this is what we have discussed yesterday, friends. Any questions or queries before we move forward? Are we good so far?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Priya. Thank you very much. So, friends, now we'll be talking about the Six Sigma approach. So, there are two approaches, I would say, which is very, very important, which we use in Six Sigma are: one is Y is a function of X, right? So, Y is a function of X means the output is a function of inputs. So, I will be writing something here. So, friends, I have I'm using a new set of microphone today, and just to make sure that the voice is very clear throughout the program. In case you face any problem, please let me know, right? Because this is the first time I'm using it. So now we are talking about day session 2 of 12, and we are talking about y is a function of x. Now, what is the meaning of y is a function of x? Actually, in Six Sigma, there are two things we are talking about: input and output. So input is represented as X and output is represented as Y. So what does it mean? It means that output is a function of inputs, or Y is a function of X. That is the meaning of this. Now, what does it mean? So to understand the meaning of this, let's talk about, so let's talk about, so in X is input, Y is output. Now, can we control the output? No, output we cannot control. X we can control. So the input parameters we can control, and the output parameters we can monitor. We cannot control, we can't control the output variables. So since we cannot control the output variables means anything which is output. So which can be the productivity numbers, the production numbers, the number of defects, right? Any vitals, for example, the vitals of the body, which can be weight, which can be blood pressure, which can be our hemoglobin levels, which can be our sugar levels, H1BAC, right? Which can be any parameters, right? In similarly in business, the profitability we are talking about the cost parameter, all the output variables, customer satisfaction, on time delivery, project duration, right? So all these parameters which are output variables we cannot control. We can only monitor them, and that is why we have different kind of scorecards like balance scorecard, or we have KPI, key performance indicator dashboards, right, where we are measuring or monitoring these output variables. Input we can control, right? For example, if I want to reduce my weight, so definitely maybe the input parameters is how much amount I am taking, right? How much amount is intake, how much exercise I do, right? How much water I drink, what are my sleeping hours, right? So all these things are input variables. For example, we are creating some product, so the input variables can be temperature, pressure in the machine. If we are using some machine, maybe the raw material quality. Say for example, if you are making food, so what can be the input variables? It can be the raw material which we are using, different vegetables, or eggs, or anything which we are using, the ingredients which we are using, right? The spices we are using, the recipe which we are using, the instruments which we are using, oven and all, the the skills of the chef. So all these things are input variables which are in our control. We can change them, right? But the output we cannot change. Now the problem is, now see, if we cannot control the output, so for example, if there is any problem, how we will solve the problem? If you say, for example, my defect rate is 10%, I want to reduce it to 0.1%. So how I can do it? I cannot control it. So that is why the fundamental here is that y is a function of x. The output we cannot control, but we know that the output depends on the input. So if we have any problem, what we can do, we can identify the input variables on which my output depends on, or my problem is depending on. For example, if I say there is 10% rejection in the process, if there is 10, or maybe I'm writing a code and there are 100 errors in 1000 lines, or maybe 20 errors in 1000 lines of codes on an average. Whenever we write a code, there are some 5% or 10%, right, mistakes are there in the code. Or maybe I'm doing some pathological test, right? So maybe in 2-3% cases there are errors in the testing. Or maybe we are doing some surgical operations, right? Maybe 1% of the case the operations are not successful. So all these things which we are talking about are the output variables. So we know any of these depends on the input variable. So if we identify the problem, say for example, we are saying the taste of the food is not good. So if I'm saying the taste of the food is not good, it means if I want to improve the taste of the food, or maybe I'm baking a cake. So sometimes my cake is good, sometimes my cake is not good. Right? So how I can ensure my taste of the cake is always good, the appearance is also good, the texture is also good. So what we can identify, we need to identify if I'm baking a cake, on which parameters it depends on. So maybe we can say the quantity of flour we are using, the quantity of eggs or oil we are using, the essence we are using, the sugar quantity we are using, right? Maybe the recipe which we are using, maybe the oven temperature we are using, maybe the duration of baking we are using, right? So all these things are the input variables. So if I want to solve a problem, what I need to do, I need to identify, first step, I need to identify what are the parameters, what are the input parameters on which my problem depends on, which can be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 parameters. Now, not all 100 will be contributing significantly to the defect, right, or taste of the food. So if I can identify, there will be only few parameters, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parameters, which will be contributing to the taste significantly. If we can identify those parameters, you might have thought of, for example, if you like some food and it's a chain of restaurants, so you go to any place of any part of your UAE, right? Uh, you go to Abu Dhabi, you go in maybe in Dubai, that you see the taste is very similar, but those are 100 miles apart, right? So, and those are two different people are using, different kitchen is being used, right? But their taste is very similar. You go to different countries also. I have visited many countries, so I've seen the taste of some food which I tried was very similar, right? Very similar in Australia, Dubai, Singapore, very similar taste of food. How it is possible? Soft drink we take, for example, any specific brand we love to have, for example, you will see the taste is very similar, right? These are continent apart. How it is possible? Because as we said, there are very few parameters, input variables on which the output, in this case, the taste of the food or the soft drink, right, depends on. If we identify those parameters, we improve those parameters. Those parameters are called critical access, right? So what we are talking about here is the the parameters which on which the taste or the output depend on is called critical access or root causes. So if we identify those root causes, we improve on the same, so automatically my output will improve, because the taste, if I'm talking about the taste of food, if the taste of food is not good, if I identify which are the 3, 4, 5 parameters, input variables on which the taste of the food depends on, then if I improve on those parameters, automatically my taste will be good. And once we reach that level when the taste of the food is good, if I fix those parameters, then the taste of the food always will remain same, right? It will always be good. So that is basically the one of the most important fundamental of Six Sigma, which is called Y is a function of X, or the output is a function of inputs. So whenever we have a
Uh,
problem, yes,
yeah. Sir, I have a question.
go ahead.
Okay. Does it mean that the more input questions, like in the more inputs are coming, then we can deliver most accurate results, because we know how many defects are there, like in a current product or XYZ. Let's say, as you said right now. So does it mean like that? Okay,
No, no,
if I know
I
five
said
five defects
any.
is there and 50 defects is there. So if I cover 50 defects, so does it mean that my future product is more reliable?
No, 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 no. It is not about defects. Basically, what we are talking about, whatever defect, right, we are getting, Rohit, right? If we identify on which of the input variables which are contributing to this defect, if we identify those input variables, those will be very few. Those will not be 100 or 50 or 20 or 10. Those may be 3, 4. That's it. If we identify those input variables, right, that defect, specific defect which we are talking about, which is contributed by which parameters, if we identify significantly, if we identify those parameters, input variables, and we improve those input variables, automatically that defect will be eliminated. And if we control those parameters at that level, then we will never face that defect. That is
So
basically
as
the fundamental.
yeah,
Yes.
so as per your example, like we are talking about a food, right? So let's say I said that, okay, no, in this food, onion is less, potato is more, and balance should be like this. So it means if onion is this and potato is this, then we can get accurate results. Is that mean?
Correct. That is right.
Okay, okay, got it. Got your point.
Yeah. Perfect. Any other question, friends, before we move forward? Okay. So the second approach or the second fundamental of Six Sigma is basically that Six Sigma is a data driven approach, friends. So usually when we make decisions, the decisions are made based on the perceptions or the opinions or the experience, right? And maybe I will not go into the details of the same, but maybe I'll give you an example. I'm talking about and friends, I'm giving you some of the personal examples, right? It is just to give you some stories, real stories, so that you are able to connect the dots. If you don't like these kind of stories, please let me know. I will not share them, right? I'll start sharing something else. But I share these stories so that we can connect some of the things from our personal life, right? So
Yeah.
this story is about when my daughter was around 3, 4 years, and we have a house. Actually, in front of the house there is a lawn. So in the lawn, and we were inside the house, there are windows with the glasses, so we can see that the and when she was 4, 5 years old, she was holding the ear of a big monkey, right? And she was slapping the monkey. Very dangerous situation because the monkey was really big. It was 1.5 times or 2 times bigger than my daughter at that point of time. Very big monkey, and she was holding the ear and slapping with her full energy and full efforts, and slapping and slapping and slapping. Right. And now we cannot do anything. Right, because if we go inside out, maybe the monkey may take the daughter, and it is very difficult to find. Right, so we were just praying, nothing else, and everything went well, right? The monkey did not say anything to the daughter, right? He left, and we took her back, right? Now I was sharing with my daughter this incident around 3, 4 months back because she has a habit to ask me, "Dad, tell me something surprising, right, from the past." So I was just asking before sharing this incident. I asked her, "Will you beat any monkey? Will you slap any monkey?" She said, "Dad, are you mad? Are you crazy? Right? How it is possible? What you are talking about?" I said, "You did it at the age of 4, 5 years." So the question is that when she was 4, 5 years, she did this. Now when she is 17, 18 years old, right? She said no, she will never do it. Not in the wildest in the dream. She will not do it. So why? She did it at the age of 4 or 5 years when she was not having so much strength. Also now she is right. She is tall. She is big. Right. She can handle the situation in a much better way, but she will never do it now. Why?
Because at that age, you don't understand the risk.
Exactly, fantastic, right? Because the brain doesn't have the data, right? The brain or the mind doesn't have the data,
Mm.
right? Because the data is not there, so she do not understand any risk, but now she understands the risk. So basically, when we take the decisions, we ask in the information which is stored in our brain, and that is why people say keep on reading books, right? So that you learn from others' mistakes, right? Reading books. Or maybe the summary of the books is very very helpful, right? Because the brain will have that information. So that is why
Mm.
usually what we do when the decision we need to make some decision, some problem, and friends, definitely we are talking about. I'm taking a step back. We are taking so we are solving the problems, right? It does not mean we are learning how to solve the problem in a better way. Six Sigma is all about problem solving, right? How we can solve the problems, improve our existing process up to the level of 3.4 DPMO. So it does not mean that we are not solving problems, right? We are solving the problems from day one, right? When we came on earth, right? We are solving from the, and
Mm-hmm.
every day we solve so many problems, right? So maybe we may have solved 100,000 problems by now, right? But the only
Mm-hmm.
thing is the way we solve the problem is depends on our experience and knowledge which we have, right? So the data which we have in our brain, based on the information, it can be through our education through our experience, right? We have collected a lot of information, and based on that we try to solve those problems, and we are able to solve 70-80% of the problems, right? It is hardly 10 to 20% of the problem which we are not able to solve, or maybe we could have done it in a better way, right? So those are the things. And why those problems are not being solved, right? Maybe because we do not have enough data, right, about those things.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the reason, right? So similarly here, so usually in Six Sigma, what we say that okay, we definitely use our experience, our knowledge, right, our education, right, all this in solving the problem. But finally, when we will conclude the same based on the data, right? So that is so it is not only based on the perception or our knowledge, but we should validate it based on the data. So it's a data driven approach, right? So data will tell us is our thinking is right or not right, and maybe we will take plenty of examples, right? Because many times we think something else, but when we practically do those things, our opinion changes, right? And maybe our decision also changes. Or I think we can take when we do the decision making based on the data, the we can take better decisions or more informed decisions, and definitely the decision may also change in many cases. Right, so that is why Six Sigma is a data-driven approach rather than a perception-based approach. So very, very important. Whatever decision finally we will take, we will start with our information, our knowledge, our experience, which we do the brainstorming in the analyze phase. But finally, when we will conclude everything, we will conclude based on the data, right? And some of and to definitely take out the inferences from the data, we need to do some kind of data analysis. So we'll be using some of the graphical tools and the statistical tools, which we'll be learning in the process in this course or in this master class. So this is and you will realize that how this makes a difference, right? So that is
Okay.
the second approach, friends. So now third thing which we are talking about now is the various problem solving approach, right? Now this may happen to some of us because we work in different organization in different domains. So we might be using, because there are different methodologies which are there, which are being used by different organizations. So we will not be covering all of them, but we will be covering some of them which are the most common problem solving methodologies, and we will try to understand how Six Sigma is different, right? And when we should use Six Sigma methodology, right? Or Lean Six Sigma methodology. So primarily, friends, the problem solving methodologies are divided in two categories. One is the to make incremental improvements and to make breakthrough improvements. So what is the meaning of incremental improvement or the breakthrough improvement in a very simple language? For example, I want to make 10% improvement in my process, right? So my rejection rate is 10%, which means 90% of the products are okay, but 10% of the products are not okay. So I want to reduce it to less than 0.5%, right, from 10%. So now I may say, okay, I will do some improvements, right? Some small improvements every month, so that I will be improving the defect by 0.5% or 1% every month. So maybe next 10 to 20 months, my defect will be very less. So that is the incremental improvement we are talking about. Breakthrough improvements we are talking about, no, in next 3 to 4 months time, we will reduce it from 10% to 0.1%. So that is the breakthrough improvement which we are talking about. So the amount of change or improvement is the rate of change of improvement is significantly higher in the transformational or the breakthrough improvement. Right? So that is at a high level we can say. So some of the incremental improvement methodologies which many of us might be using, right, is our just do it, suggestion scheme, Kaizen, and PDCA. So these are four most common methodologies which are used by many organizations, which are incremental improvement techniques. So what is just do it? So just do it is basically, friends, is a methodology which means we have a very small problem and we have a known solution, right? For example, let me give you a simple example of first aid, right? We all do first aid. So for example, I got a very small cut in my finger. So will I go to doctor? No, I will not go to doctor. It's a very small cut. I know what to do in this kind of situation. And this is a well proven solution which I have. So maybe I'll just wash it. Maybe I'll put some antiseptic lotion, maybe Savlon, Dettol or something. And if it is still bleeding, then maybe I'll put some kind of strapping over there, maybe band-aid or something I'll put. So which means I am not investing any time in going to the doctor and doing the analysis done, right, or the any kind of x-ray or any kind of analysis done. No, I'm not doing that because I know it's a very small problem and I have well proven solution which have been tested, right, for ages. So that is basically called the just do it. So we have a small problem. We have we know the solution, which is a well proven solution. So rather than investing time into the analysis and other things, we directly implement the solution and solve it. Right. So in couple of minutes, the problem is solved. Right. So that is, and we have so many workarounds at our places, right? In our environment, we may think about, oh yes, if this happens, for example, I'm writing by something, maybe I'll just rub it, right, and I'll do it again, right? If my some spelling mistake is there, I'm typing, I'll just correct it, right, rather than going into the details of the same. Very crude examples I've taken, right? Similarly, in our own functions, right, there are so many workarounds, work things which we do. We know the problem, we know the solution, and we just implement the solution. That is called just do it. The second kind of methodology is suggestion scheme, right? I'm sure, and here we are talking about employee suggestion scheme. So I'm sure many of you must be having the employee suggestion scheme in your organization, right? Yes or no, friends? Some of us are having this employee suggestion scheme in the organization you are working.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, okay. Thank you. So, employee suggestion scheme, friends, the idea behind, and this is extremely important, the idea behind the employee suggestion scheme is basically what the organization is saying. Organization is creating the culture of improvement in the organization, right? So, what they are doing is the organization is empowering the employees, right, to make some changes in the processes or the systems in the organization. They can raise the point, so they're authorized, they're empowered, right? They have the authority to take it forward to the management, and definitely management has the final say because there might be some reasons all the changes, right, are possible to implement or not possible to implement, but you have, so which means the organization is creating that culture that each and every employee is empowered to to make some changes or suggest some changes in the organizational process or systems if they find something can be done in a better way. So that is basically a suggestion scheme where if you see something can be improved as a part of the process or the system in the organization, that we have the authority, right? We are empowered to raise that point to the management, and management committee is there or team is there. They evaluate, and based on their decision, the if the idea is approved, then organization reward the employees also, and they help the employee to implement it in the organization to make that change happen, right? So it is one of the methodology which helps you to create the improvement culture in the organization. If, say for example, if there are 400 or 500 or 1000 employees in the organization. So all those 1000 employees are thinking about making some improvement in the organization, right? So which means we are empowered. So that empowerment is given to the employees, and definitely it promotes the culture of continuous improvement. The third methodology, which is also very common in many of the organization, is that is called Kaizen. Now, friends, Kaizen is a Japanese word which is made up of two words, which is Kai. Just a minute. Let me open the pointer options, laser pointer. Yes. So Kai plus Zen. What is Kai? Kai means change and Zen means good. So change for good is basically Kaizen. Right? So Kaizen as a complete word means in English it is usually referred to continuous improvement, right? What is the meaning of Kaizen or continuous improvement is, again, the continuous improvement or Kaizen is again a methodology which creates the improvement culture in the organization, right? It's a bottom up approach. So start from the bottom of the pyramid. People are trained on identifying the problems, because you may think about, right, the biggest problem is we don't see the problems. You may think about it, and maybe if needed we can discuss about it, right? We become used to it. If you go to some place, you might be joining a new organization or you visit some place, you might see 10 problems today, but if you keep visiting that place after some time, right, you will not see them as a problem, or after some time it will part of the process, right? So that is the biggest problem we have, that we are not able to see the problems, right? And that is why people, organizations have consultant, they come and they tell us, right, that okay, these are the issues we have and how we can solve it, right? Why? Because we don't see the problems, right? And so first thing which we do in Kaizen is we train the organization people to see the problems, that how you can see the problems, right, in your work area. And once they are equipped with it, right, they are able to see the problems, then they are able to make the, definitely if I know the problem, I'll definitely do something about it. And I am rewarded also for the same. I'm getting appreciation for the same, and some reward and recognition is also there. So people do the improvements. So that is basically Kaizen is making small improvements in our work. In our usually Kaizen is done in your work area, and it is the philosophy behind this is basically, if I am doing something day in day out, right? Nobody knows more than this area than me. Right, because I'm doing it 8 hours per day. I'm investing in this machine or in this process, right? So I know this the best. So I can identify the problems and I can think about how I can solve it. So I can make some small improvements there. The paperwork is also very less. All right, so there is usually one sheet which is before and after pictures, and one line, right? What was the problem before and how it has been, what is the situation now? Very simple. Usually, no permissions are needed, right? Like in the suggestion scheme, you need to go to the you need to submit it to the management, then the committee will approve. Maybe in 2 weeks' time, they will decide, right? And then you can work on the same or not. But in Kaizen, you are empowered to do the improvements. You can do the improvements if you think, you can decide yourself, right, that yes, you need to discuss with your supervisor or the boss, right? Then you can discuss with your supervisor or boss. But otherwise, usually Kaizens are, people are empowered to do the improvement. So you can do the improvement in your own area, and then you can submit it, right, to the team, right? You can show them, okay, what improvements we have done. Now, the quantum of improvement or the quantum of impact, right, in of one Kaizen may not be very high, but if there are, for example, the numbers of Kaizens are very high, right? So usually one of the metric which organization may have is how many Kaizens are done per employee per month, and usually they say that you should do minimum one Kaizen. Now think about it. If any organization has 1,000 employees, right, on an average everybody is doing one improvement per month, which means 1,000 improvements guidance per month, which means around 12,000 improvements per year. So collectively those 12,000, right, the collective output of the 12,000 is definitely make a significant difference in the outcome, right, in the on the positive side to the organization, right? So this is very important that way.
Excuse me, can you give us an example of Kaizen improvement?
Yes, Yes, Kaizen improvements can be, for example, if I'm doing something and I have noticed, right? For example, maybe maybe I can take some examples from manufacturing. When I'm making when I'm doing my part of process, right? I am using a sheet, right? Which is I'm using 80% of the sheet and the 20% of the sheet is wasted, right? So there is a lot of material wastages, right? Now what I've done is I've made some improvement in the process. So now I'm using 85% or 95% of the sheet. So my raw material wastage has been reduced, right? So that is wastage reduction, right? So I earlier my wastage of the material was 20%. Now my wastage is only 5%. So that is an improvement. Very simple improvement we have done. So it can be wastage reduction. Maybe I can save time in the process. For example, I'm doing something where I am taking 20 seconds of time. Now I've done some changes in the process. Now I can do my work in 17 seconds. So I'm saving 3 seconds per part. If I'm making 1,000 parts, right? So which means 3,000 seconds I'm saving. So which will increase the throughput of the overall production quantity if required. So these are very simple improvements which can be done. Maybe I can give you simpler example, right? For example, we are using the maybe we are using the yes. This is a real example, right? So maybe I will refrain to share the name of the organization, but very big organization, and it was a big conference room where we were started the presentation, and the MD of the company, which is I will say right a million more than couple of million dirhams company per turnover, very big company, global company, right? I'll say Fortune 200 company, right? So in their registered office, they were about to start the presentation. I'm talking about a couple of years back. So there was one projector. Now we use usually the TV screens using the Wi-Fi, but those days we used to have the projector. So the projector has been projected, and now we were looking at somebody who can switch off the lights, right, so that the visibility of the projector is better on the screen, right? So somebody switched off the light, and unfortunately that was the button for projector. So the projector went off. Now it took around 5 minutes time to again set up the projector and start the presentation. So we wasted 5 minutes of time. Now that day a simple improvement has been done. Somebody have created a sticker of P projector and put with red mark right on the button. So which is
Wow.
indicating that this button belongs to projector. So it's a very small
Yeah.
improvement. Right. So all this
Yeah.
very small improvement, right, comes under the Kaizen. The fundamental is we use our brains, our mind, right, our team work to do the improvements, not on the money investment part, but small improvements we are talking about. Right. We are not looking at very big something that okay, we will do something big, right? Maybe something big can be the outcome, but we are talking about taking very small steps in our own area. So collectively the improvement will be bigger. Does that make sense?
We lost you there.
Yes. I think there was some intermittent issue was there. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
So I was saying, friends, is it clear now? I think, or should I take
Yeah.
some more examples? Okay, perfect. Okay,
Yes, very clear. Thank you.
thank you very much.
I
The
think Kaizen
four,
is a very powerful tool to apply in everyday life as well. Even in personal life, even in our work life, even in our relationships. I think it's a very powerful tool.
no, I agree with you. I agree with you. I really appreciate Priya on the same.
Yep.
Thank you. Mm. So the fourth thing is the fourth very common methodology, friends, is PDCA, which stands for plan, do, check, and act. So it is also known as, and it is a continuous cycle, right? We plan the things, we do the things, we check, and we take the actions accordingly. And it is a rotating cycle. So which means we are not stopping, but we are keep on doing the improvements. And this is also known as Deming cycle, right? It is also known as the Deming cycle because the person who introduced this methodology or developed this methodology, his name was Deming. So that is why it is known as Deming cycle or PDCA cycle. So what is PDCA cycle is, friends? PDCA stands for Plan, Do, Check and Act. So practically, if we talk about knowingly or unknowingly, most of the activities which we do, we use PDCA. Right? I'll give you some examples, and then we'll build up on the same. For example, I need to go to one client place, and I need to reach there by 9 o'clock. So I'll do some planning. Okay, I'll start by 7:30. I'll use the metro. I'll use the tube, right? And at this time I will start. Right. So all those planning I will do. Then I will start. Right. I will start implementing it, which is the do part of it. So I'm doing it, and then maybe on the halfway, right, I will check, okay, will I reach by Valentine? Oh no, not exactly, looks like I will be 5 minutes late. So that is the checking part, right? C part. Then action, what action I will take? Maybe I'll call up somebody who's in the meeting. Maybe I will request him or her to take care of the meeting for initial 3 4 5 minutes because I may be 5 minutes late, right? So I'm trying to take the risk management. I'm trying to do, right? I'm informing the people that yes, I may be 5 minutes late, so somebody can take care of the thing. So that is basically the action, right? So this is so project management. What we do, all the project management is PDCA. We make the project plan, right? We do the things, we do the governance and the reviews, and as per the outcome, as per the progress, we take the actions. So we are using unknowingly or knowingly PDCA there. Now, how we can use the PDCA in the problem solving? So similarly, PDCA was being used for problem solving for decades. And how it was being used? So in the planning part, what was being done, right? For example, I have a small problem which we want to solve, and we are not able to solve this problem. So what we do, we will take as it as an improvement project. We will make a team and we will decide the roles and responsibilities. Then we will do the brainstorming. We will identify some of the ideas, improvement ideas, how we can resolve these problems or the issues which we are facing. So all that is basically the planning part, right? So we have identified based on the brainstorming, we have identified the solutions, right? Now the do part is we will do the solutions. We will do the piloting of the solution. Right? That is the do part and check. Then we will check the improvement or the effectiveness. Are those solutions which we have done the pilot testing, are those effective or not effective? Maybe some of them are effective, some of them are not effective. So then accordingly we will act. The one which are effective, right, we will implement it and it will keep on. So there will be some improvement in the process. So this was the PDCA cycle which was used, right, for long, and even today, right, there are different methodologies also. Maybe if you have heard about European companies, they use a methodology which is called 8D methodology, right? Maybe if you have heard about it, 8D methodology. Have you heard about it? 8D methodology. That is an extension of PDCA. Japanese organization, they usually use a A3 problem solving. A3 problem solving methodology. That is also an extension of the PDCA. So these are the current, right? Like if you go to Volkswagen, if you go to Daimler, right, Mercedes, these companies, they use 8D methodologies. Many of the Japanese organizations, they use the A3 problem solving. So these two methodologies are also the extension, right, of A3 of the PDCA. Now, in PDCA there are 4 steps, but in 8D there are 8 steps. Similarly, in the A3 problem solving, there are 8 or 9 steps, depending on the organization. So these are the methodologies, friends, which we discussed. 4 methodologies, which is just do it, suggestion scheme, Kaizen, and PDCA. These are the incremental problem solving methodologies. So we keep on doing these improvement. So we did one Kaizen, another Kaizen, another Kaizen. We keep on doing the Kaizens. Right? Similarly, PDCA, we did one, then again and again we are doing it. So continuously we are working on the improvement of the culture in the organization. So we are doing the incremental improvement, but the collective improvement will be significant. Then we are talking about the breakthrough improvement. In the breakthrough improvement, there are three methodologies which are usually uh, we talk about. One is called Lean, second is Six Sigma DMAIC, and third is Six Sigma DFSS or DMADV. So what is Six Sigma DMAIC and DMADV? We discussed about it. These are two methodologies. One is for the existing process, which is DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, improvement, control. And then we have DMADV when we are talking about designing a new process or a new product. We use DMADV, define, measure, analyze, design, and verify. The third methodology which we are talking about is lean. So maybe I will just explain you here because this is important. Breakthrough improvement. In this case, usually problem is known, solution is not known. So these are the three methodologies, friends, which we talk about. One is we are talking about if we have existing process or we may have, we are talking about developing a new process or a new product. Then we are talking about here the problem may be of two types. One is high variation or defects, or the problem can be high wastages or duration. So if we have very problem of variation, right? Variation means I am a bank account, bank. I go there, I ask them how much time you take to open the bank account. So they said, sir, it varies from 3 days to 30 days. So which means there is a high variation in the process. Sometimes we may take 3 days also, sometimes we may take 30 days also. So the problem here is variation, high variation, right? Or it may be defects, right? So or maybe for example, I have one route where sometimes I may reach to the office in 15 minutes, sometime it may take 45 minutes also, right? So the variation is very high. Right? I go to a restaurant, sometimes their food is very tasty, sometimes their food is not tasty. So high variation is there in the output or defects, right? We are doing some process, there are high defects. It can be a manufacturing process, it can be a service process, it can be a delivery, right? On time deliveries, right, are only 75%, 25% we are not on time. If we talk about the project management, right, in around 30% of the cases, that we are overrun on the budget, right? So which means we are investing more, we are spending more money than the budget, right? So which means again a defect. Or in a manufacturing process there are some rejections, right? So we have around 2.5% rejection or 5% rejection in the process. So if we have the problem of variation or defects, we use the methodology which is called Six Sigma DMAIC. If we are talking about if the problem is high variation or high defects, we use Six Sigma DMAIC. If high wastage or duration, right? So I am taking, for example, I am taking 6 months of time we are taking as an organization to develop this product, right? But now the market is much more competitive and the organization wants to reduce this time from 6 months to 4 months time. Or maybe I'll give you an example. There is a company in Australia, Melbourne. They invited me to help them in. So they were taking around 3 years of time to manage to develop a product and implement it or launch it in the market. But their competition was taking only 1.5 years. So even if they start doing it in advance of 1 year, their competitors were able to launch the product right before in the market. So they were losing on the first mover advantage. So they invited me right to solve this problem. So we used this methodology lean and we reduced their time from 3 years to 7 months. Right. So lean is all about. So when we are talking about high wastage or duration reduction, then we use lean as the methodology. Lean is all about identify the waste in the process and eliminate that waste. So that is basically lean. What is waste, how we can identify it and how we can work on the same, that we will be learning in this program also, right? In addition to the variation part. And third part is the if we are developing a new product or a new process, we use the methodology which is Six Sigma DMA DV, right? Six Sigma DMA DV. Now, Six Sigma DMA DV are the steps there. This is also known as the other name of this is DFSS. Some of the books you might say DFSS, which is this designed for Six Sigma. Right? So DMA DV or DFSS are same. So these are the three methodologies which we are using for the breakthrough improvement we are talking about. High variation, if we are talking about existing process, either the variation is high or defects are high or the duration is high. If the duration is high, we want to reduce the duration, we can use lean. If we want to reduce the defects, we can use Six Sigma DMA IC. Or if we are developing a new product or a new process, then we can use Six Sigma DMA DV. Are we good on the same, friends?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So now, friends, we'll be taking, this is basically lean, right? So can we see some waste here in the process, right, in this picture? Maybe we can say, okay, the kind of work they are using, right? We are using a very heavy equipment here, right? Which
Yeah.
may not be safe also from the safety point of view. Rather, this guy is using a very simple, right, instrument rather than doing
Yeah.
the same work. And because of this heavy instrument, we need to use, right, these to balance. Right, so all this is
Yeah.
wastage, right? We can see here. So similarly, we will learn about it little later, right? Maybe today or tomorrow. But when we talk about just, I will very briefly, I'll tell you what is basically waste. Waste means which is not important for the customer. Any step of the process which is not important for the customer, that is called waste. We will build up on the same and we'll learn in details maybe today or tomorrow. Right. So this is the summary of the problem solving methodologies which we have discussed. Now friends, will be talking about, give you some idea about, you might have heard about it, that there are different belts, right? In Six Sigma, you might have heard about white belt, yellow belt, green belt, black belt, master black belt, right? In this program, we are covering the green belt and the black belt. So what are these belts, right? How these are, what are the roles and responsibilities? So in the next 5 to 7 minutes, we'll talk about these belts. So these are different roles which has been developed as a part of the methodologies which is developed by Motorola. So let's quickly talk about what are these belts or these roles. So white belt is basically for introductory knowledge, maybe a 2 hour session, right? For everyone. Usually this is for everyone, so that they can understand the basics about quality, customer, process improvement, right? Standardization, all these things. A very simple thing, right? How how the taste of food of a particular maybe KFC or McDonald's or any restaurant chain, right, is same across the world, right? Or very similar, right? How they are able to do it. So giving them that concept of standardization, right? Or how we can make sure we are giving a good customer experience, right, to the customers, right? Maybe Starbucks, if you go to any outlet of the Starbucks, right, you may see, right, the similar kind of experience, or you may, right, you, if you see something very different, then definitely that is the point to be noticed. The second part, the second belt is, so that is a very basic level, which usually for when I was working in the corporate, I was heading some of the functions in the organization. Then I used to introduce this in the new employee introduction. So it's a 1 hour to 2 hours program, right? Module which we put in the new employee introduction, right? So when the new employee will join, the employee will go through this 2 hours of training to understand all these things. The second is the yellow belt, right? Yellow belt is basically the team members in the green belt. The concept of yellow belt is that the people who will be working as a team member in a green belt project, they should be trained as a yellow belt. So what is yellow belt? So yellow belt will be basically, they will be learning about at a very high level what are the problem solving methodologies. There are 7 different quality tools are there in quality, which can be, you might have heard about it, cause and effect diagram, YY analysis, check sheets in terms of data collection, right? Then maybe a process flow diagram, right? Then maybe some Pareto chart, right? So there are set of tools, basic problem solving tools, those are covered, right? DMAIC at a very high level is covered, so that they have the some fair idea about the process improvement. So that is basically the yellow belt. And the role of the yellow belt is everybody who is a part of the any green belt project, they should be having a yellow belt training and a yellow belt certification. The third is the green belt. So green belt is basically the purpose of the green belt is basically, I will say, the green belt role is leading a green belt project. So green belt project is, maybe I'll just write it here. So friends, when we talk about a green belt, I'm talking about project, right? So green belt project. What is the difference between a green belt project and a black belt project? So green belt project is, in a simple word, I will say improving my own KPI, right? That is basically, I would say, green belt project. So which means it will be unifunctional and less complex, right? Because I'm improving my own KPI, right? Maybe uh, I'm working in audit department, right? And we see a lot of variation in between different auditors. If they do the same kind of audit of the same person, there is a significant difference in in the scores. So I want to improve on the same. Or maybe I'm working in production department and I have 8% reduction in my process. I want to reduce this reduction, which I am taking care of the process, from 8% to maybe 2% or 1%. Maybe I am working in customer experience department and I have identified that around 20% of the customers are not happy with us. So I want to reduce this 20% to 2%. So which means I am improving my own KPI, right? The area which I am working in, I want to improve that area. So most of the things I know, most of the things are under my span of control. Many of the people who are working there, they will be part of the team. So it is very less complex. Unifunctional means it is within a function. Now the second is black belt project. Black belt project is basically a, so improving, right, someone else KPI. If I say it's a cross-functional project. Cross-functional in nature, so which means cutting across multiple functions, right? So not only it is related to one function, but maybe multiple functions are involved. So it is very complex, right? More complex in nature, right? So that is basically a black belt project. Now, some organization, they have some savings criteria also, but those are very specific to the organizational guidelines. So if I say here, now I'm coming back here with this context. So a green belt person is expected to complete a green belt project. So which means I will be leading a green belt project. So that means that is a green belt. Green belt means I will be trained on the methodologies, like we are getting the training. We will have good idea about some of the statistical analysis and graphical analysis also. And after completion of the green belt training in an organization, the expectation from this role or this certification is that I will be I will be solving one of my own problem. Own problem means my area's problem. If I'm working in operations, so I will take one of the operational problem and I will improve it. So I will take a project. I will lead that project. There will be many team members who will be yellow belt trains, and together we'll be solving that problem in the next 4 months time. So that is the expectation. When we will be doing the project, there will be one coach also who will be a black belt certified person who will be guiding us and helping us throughout the project. So that is basically the role of the black belt. Then we have the black belt. So black belt is the role of the black belts are actually many. One is black belt will be doing a black belt project, which means cross functional project. Black belt will also be training the people on some of the trainings, maybe yellow belt or green belt trainings or some problem solving methodologies. Or black belt will also be mentoring the green belts. And usually the black belt role is a full-time role, right? Full-time role means uh, the usually the black belts are in an organization are the part of the operational excellence or process excellence team or digital transformation team or new projects and innovation team. So usually they are a part of the central team where 100% of the time they are working on the process improvement activities. Right? While the green belt role is usually I'm working in operations, but I'm doing a project also. So during the project duration, I will be working on the project for 30% of the time, and 70% of the time I will be taking care of my routine activities. So it's a part-time kind of contribution. But black belt and master black belt are usually full-time roles where these people or these roles are the uh, sits under the central team, which can be operational excellence team or digital transformation or process excellence team or maybe a similar kind of name. So that is the role from the black belt. So that is why black belt is expected to lead some of the black belt project, coach some of the green belts, and also delivering some of the trainings, and definitely helping the master black belts in some of the initiatives. And then we have the master black belt who which this is a very senior leadership role, which will be more from the strategy point of view but less operational. So which means seeing the how we can do the Six Sigma deployment across the organization, right? The project selection, which projects to be selected, right? Which are the right projects to be taken, and ensuring that those projects are being those people are being identified, they are delivering, doing these projects, they are trained, and whatever support is needed, that support is being provided. So that kind of role, strategic role, is basically setting up, working with the business leaders, right, to work on their work with them to help them to solve their big problems, right? Business problems or the pain areas. So that is basically the role of the master black belt. So these are different roles: white belt, yellow belt, green belt, black belt, and master black belt. Are we good so far, friends? Any questions we may have?
Yeah, all good.
Perfect. Thank you. So then, friends, we have two more roles actually there. One is project sponsor, which is at the project level, and we will be learning about it more in details maybe tomorrow when we talk about the define phase. So project sponsor is the basically the a senior management person who will be the overall who will be sponsoring a project, right? So this is usually a senior management person who will be reviewing the project. For example, I'm a green belt or a black belt and I'm doing a project. So there will be a project sponsor who will be the department head or the function head. The project sponsor is the person who will be reviewing the project, right, across the entire project life cycle. So there are different 5 reviews which are planned. So, and the business case, which is also one of the thing, is also been reviewed by this project sponsor. So the role of the project sponsor is practically to ensure that the team is taking the right problem to solve, right? A good problem which is really impactful and important for the organization. And if they are having any kind of roadblocks, maybe some support is needed, somebody is not helping, or some we need to maybe we need some kind of a budget also in sometimes, right? To making while making the improvement, I need to get some workflow changes in the SAP, so I need to hire somebody to make those changes, and I need to pay the fees for the person. So that will be funded by the sponsor also, right? So in case of any roadblocks, but definitely the sponsor will be reviewing the projects throughout and helping and supporting the people as well. So that is basically it is the highest role at a project level when we are talking about. There are one or two roles also which are at the organizational level, right? These roles are not necessarily will be a part of every organization. I repeat, these roles are very senior roles, and these roles are at organizational level, right? And may not exist in all the organization which are using Six Sigma, right? So, but if the Six Sigma implementation is happening at a large scale, then you will see these roles. Otherwise, you will not see these roles. So, what are these roles? One is champions. So, champion role is basically they will identify the improvement projects, and this will be aligned from the vision and mission, goals and objective of the organization, right? So they will make sure that they identify the right problems or the right projects, right, for the organization, so that if those projects are done, then the goal and objective and then the vision or mission of the organization should be completed, should be fulfilled, should be achieved. So that is one role which is at the organizational level, as I said. The second role is the deployment champion. This is at a very, very high level role. So, for example, I will give you an example of General Motors. So, when I was consulting General Motors, then there was this deployment champion was a role, and this person was taking care of the Six Sigma deployments across the globe, more than 50 locations. So very, very senior role, and this person was reporting to Mary Barra, who is the CEO of the company, right? So he was senior vice president. So very, very senior role here. So this person is responsible, or this role is responsible for the deployment of Six Sigma, not only at one business unit, but across the business units, right? Across the group. So very serious role. So that is what I said. These two roles, which is champion and deployment champion, you may not see in your organization if they are implementing Six Sigma, or if it is happening at global level, then definitely you will see these kind of roles. But yes, green belt, black belt, master black belt, yellow belt, this you will be right having all across, and the project sponsor will be there in every project. So this was about the some of the rules and their responsibilities. Then very quickly, friend, will be talking about lean. So what is lean, friends? Is basically lean is lean is basically means identifying and eliminating the waste. Most of the so there are multiple concepts in lean, and most of the concept of lean came from Toyota Production System. So Toyota Production System was a system which was developed by the company Toyota, and it started in 1950s, and later on lean term came, which was specifically focusing on eliminating the waste. The name of lean was given by MIT and James Womack team, but most of the concept of the lean was taken from Toyota Production System. So this is some of the history part of lean. And this is Taichi Ono, who is said to be the father of lean. In his words, what is lean? Lean is a systematic approach for identifying and eliminating waste. And what is waste? Waste is the non-value added activities. And what is non-value added activities? Well, non-value added activities are the activities which are not important for the customer. Right? We will go into the details of the same on the next slide after a minute. And how we will achieve it? Through continuous improvement. So which means we will be doing the improvements, continuous improvement, right? Step by step we are going up and up, and by flowing the product or service at the pull of the customer. So there are two new words here, which is flow and which is pull, right? So flow means here, and definitely we will learn in detail about the flow when we will learn the value stream mapping in the session 9. But as of now, flow means the flow of information and the flow of material, right? So what Lean talks about, that the flow is very, very important. If the information or the material is not flowing, then it will create a waste, right? For example, I am working in the sales function and I got an order from the customer. Now, if I'm passing on this information to my production planning team or to the next person after 3 days, so from the customer point of view, 3 days has been wasted, right? After three, maybe I was traveling or I was in
Yeah.
back-to-back meetings, right? I could not, I shared that information, so which means the flow has been restricted, right? And this flow is very important. Maybe I'll give you a very simple example, right? Any volunteer for the 1 minute discussion, friends? Just to give you an idea how the flow works, right? What is the meaning of flow? Some questions on the chat. Voice breaking.
I can
Okay,
volunteer.
yeah. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, who said volunteer? Priyanka? Was it you
Me.
or some? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Priyanka.
Yeah.
So maybe if I ask you, Priyanka, how much time, if I ask you, how much time it takes to go to the nearest airport from your place?
15 minutes.
Sorry, 1 5?
1 5.
15 minutes. Okay. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm just taking an example that you are taking the road, right, by the car, right? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Now, if I ask the same question with maybe in the evening when there is a lot of traffic,
Uh, 45 minutes.
45 minutes now. So think about it, friends, 15 minutes and 45 minutes, right? Now, if I ask you what is the difference? Road is same, car is same, driver is same, right? Everything is same. What is the difference?
Traffic, because
Traffic.
it's evening would be a peak time where all the office goers are returning home.
Correct. So there will be a lot of cars on the road or vehicles on the road,
Yes.
which will restrict the flow of your car,
Yes.
right? So the speed or your flow of your car will be restricted. So that is why the time which you were taking of 15 minutes will become 45 minutes. Right? Because you
Yes.
will not be able to move at that speed because the flow is restricted by other cars. Do we agree on the same?
Yes.
And that exactly what Taichi Ono means in the organization also. The flow is restricted at various
Mhm.
places. Right? So similarly, so that is the meaning of the flow, and he talks specifically about two flows. One is the flow of the information, and second is the flow of the
Materials.
material, right? So, and we will learn more in details about it when we learn about a tool which is called value stream mapping on in session 9, which is in the black belt, right? And the last thing is the pull of the customer. Pull means, again, I'm saying it is from lean point of view. Pull means that we should produce any product or deliver our service when we have a confirm order from the customer, which means customer is pulling us to give the product and then we start making it, right? We should not. So lean is strictly no if we produce the product and keep it, right? So they say
Oh,
we should make a product when we get the confirm order from the customer, right? Maybe we will
okay.
talk about in more details about the same, right? But that is the meaning of pull. Pull means when customer is pulling the product from you, then you start making it. Right? So
Right.
that is the meaning of pull. Push means you have already made the product, you are keeping it in the warehouse, and when customer order will come, you will deliver it. So that is the push kind of supply chain in the language of Lean. So Lean says no push, only pull. Pull means you should start the production only when you get the confirm order from the customer. Are we good
Okay.
on the same, friends?
Yes.
Okay. So now, friends, we'll do the quick brush up of what we have done so far, and then we'll take a break. and after the break we will continue. So today, friends, we started with the approaches. So two big approaches which we use in Six Sigma. One is Y is a function of X, which means the output is a function of input. So whenever we have a problem, right, we should not, definitely we should do the first aid, right, which means the containment, right. So containment is done to ensure that the damage to the customer, right, should be minimum. But and after once the containment part is done, then we should do the root cause analysis. We should identify the root causes. Root causes are the causes or the input variables which are significantly contributing to the problem, right. For example, if I got fever, right, so which means I my body has some infection, so which means in my body there is some virus, so I need to identify that virus, right, and I should take care of the virus. If I take care of the virus, then the problem will be resolved, and if I ensure that that virus should not attack me again, right, so which is then I will be always, right, I will not have that kind of problem again because of that virus. So that is basically what we are talking about here. And in line connecting the dots from what Priyanka said, right, so maybe I'll just add one thing. This is extremely helpful in our personal life also, friends. And many times what we do, we overreact to the situation, right. Somebody was shouting or was talking in a high volume, we also raise our voice without even thinking that why this person is have a different behavior today, right. So what we are doing, we
Hmm.
are reacting to the outcome. We are not thinking. Maybe we can just hold on for a minute and think about why this person is doing so. Usually, this person is very nice, and this can be our kids, this can be our spouse, maybe our parents, maybe our colleagues, right? They may be there may be some reason. Maybe the person has faced something very something. There is a reason, and many times, trust me, friend, once we identify that why the person is behaving like this, what is the
Hmm.
situation with the person, our response will change completely. Maybe rather than angry, we'll become empathetic, right? Maybe the person is situation, right? Because usually the person is very nice and very good, right? So that is what is the meaning of why is a function of X, that identify the root cause, right? Why we are reacting to the situation, right? Okay. And the second part is it's a data driven approach. So collect the data, right, and validate what is being said, because people may say different things. If you watch on YouTube, every second person will be making a claim, right, that okay, if you invest in this property you will get so much return, right, if you take my course you will be earning 1 million dirhams per year. Uh, right, I can tell you the strategies to double your money in 30 days. Everybody is making claims, right. So those claims are okay or not okay, we validate based on the data, right? It is okay or not okay. So that is the data driven approach. Then we talked about the problem solving methodologies. So we talked about incremental improvement and breakthrough improvement. In the incremental improvement, we talked about just do it, suggestion scheme, Kaizen, and PDCA. And in the breakthrough improvement, we talked about Six Sigma DMAIC, Lean, and Six Sigma DMA When the problem is in the existing process, the problem can be related to the high variation or high defects. We use Six Sigma DMAIC. If the problem is related to duration, right, we are taking a lot of time. We resolve 70% of the customer complaints in 7 days time. Right, we want to reduce it from 7 days to 3 days. Right, I am a bank. I take around 30 days of time to open the bank account. Right, I want to reduce this time from 30 days to 2 days. Right, so I'm working on the duration. I am Samsung. We take 6 months time to develop the new model, but now the market is changed. Now we need to launch a model every 3 months. So we need to reduce the time from 6 months to 3 months. So all these are problems which are related to duration reduction. So whenever we want to reduce the duration reduction, right, then it talks about maybe I'm a company where we give a training of 6 months to to a new freshers, and then they are ready to work, right, in specific areas. I want to reduce this time from 6 months to 3 months, right, so the employee training time, right, so that they are productive after three months rather than 6 months. Can we do something about it, right? So all those things where we are talking about reduction in the problem, reduction in the duration, then we use lean. If we want to reduce the variation, we use Six Sigma DMAIC. And if we want to develop a new product or a new service, then we use Six Sigma DMA. And then, friends, we talked about the different, at the project level, different rules which is white belt, yellow belt, green belt, black belt, and master black belt, project sponsor, and the champion and deployment champion. And then we discussed a little bit about, started discussing about lean. So in lean, we talked about the definition from Taichi Ono, who's said to the father of lean. We talked about the elimination of waste, continuous improvement, flow and pull. So this is what we have discussed, friends, so far. Uh, are we good so far, friends? Now the value added, non-value added will be discussing after the break. So are we good so far? Any questions, friends, before we go on the
Yes.
break? Great,
No, it's
friends.
very clear.
Thank you. So, friends, let's clap for our learning. So we'll come back in 20 minutes. I'll put the timer also, and let's meet after 20 minutes. Thank you very much. See you
Thank
in
you.
20 minutes, friends. Thank you.
Thank you.